But this is what I made the video about. I have been working, like I said, on my time off between looking for work. I don't know what to call it yet, but there it is. That is my animal. Let me get this thing out of the picture. I was joking around with my wife the other day, and I says, I think what I'm going to call it is my ECU manipulator module. I got it pretty much wired up to do everything we need to take care of. I just try keeping everything in one box and making it a non-bulky box. So we'll take a look at the guts. Alright, the guts of the thing is obviously Z's famous PWM. Hopefully we can see that. There's his PWM. I got a 75 amp MOSFET down there. On there, got my lugs for the control. Straight down, I know it doesn't look pretty, but straight down you can see my two pot switches here are for my map sensors, so I can control the map sensor on the vehicle. And then hanging on the far wall is my new controller for my O2 sensors, my ECU control. So I've got it down to 8 wires, or 6 wires, I'm sorry, 6 wires coming out of the controller. I'll have my 2 for my map sensor. I'll have 4 for my dual O2 sensor. This is for a dual, this controller here is for a dual O2. So that'll be my 6 wires. Then obviously you'll have your positive wire, like you would on any PWM. And then I have my source, my feed, and then my load, my cell, right here. Obviously the heat sink with the fan up on the top. This is our controls for our map sensors. We'll have on, off, bypass. Then we've got city, highway. Just a little LED green light to let you know that the unit's got power. You know, if you're using the map sensor. So obviously we're just taking the power off of the main power wire coming into the unit right there, using the ground coming in. Now I'll put a capacitor to make sure I don't get any noises or feedback going back to my controller. So we'll test it out. Again, it's still in the testing. I've tested all of the pieces separately. They all work good. But when I'm working on the truck, I've got these controls everywhere. You know, PWM is in one spot, and my O2 sensor, my ECU control is in another spot, and the map sensor is in the other spot. So we'll see, just see how it all works together. So I'm at the point now where I'm ready to do all my fine tuning. I've got my holes drilled for my PWM, so I can control it, get it tweaked the way I need it to get it tweaked. Everything's pretty much ready to roll. But that's what I've been doing lately. I haven't been idled. I haven't been working. Like I said, I've got a couple orders that we did the cells for. Haven't had the chance to finish the big one. I'm really excited to try the dry cell. But as you can see, like I said, I've been doing a lot of experimenting with this. These different designs that I found on the internet. I did find a user on YouTube that's seems like he's put most of his effort into doing the ECU controls, and he seems like he really knows what he's doing. So, and that's where I got the design for the one that's inside here from Rick. So, Rick, thanks. I appreciate everything that you helped me with on this one. Hopefully we can get this thing up and running the right way. I was on one of Z's road shows. One of these times he was on the road talking to him. I'm working on a vehicle similar to his truck the truck that he drives, a Toyota Tundra. But this is an Lexus. It's a 2001 Lexus, which has got the same engine. It's got the same motor in it that the Toyotas do. The Lexus is made by Toyota. I'm producing enough hydrogen. I've got my hydrogen flow, but it's still not doing any difference. At first, it'll make a difference, but once the computer catches back up to what's going on, then the truck defaults back to its normal fuel. So I know it's an O2 issue. I know that's what it is. So that's why I really haven't been pushing that hard on the cells lately. I've been pushing more on the O2 and the map sensors, but I think we need to control both. I think just trying to control one. The computers in these vehicles are smart enough to realize that if the map sensor says we have this much going in, and the O2 sensor says, well, it doesn't agree with what the map sensor is doing, this computer is going to default back to what the factory set it for. So if we can control both of them, keeping them in line with each other, I believe then we're going to start noticing a difference. Not that obviously we're going to run these vehicles just on hydrogen, but we'll actually be able to start noticing a difference and get the mileage up there, where it should be able to be, burning at 100% efficient. So that's my goal. That's what I'm working on. I'm gonna probably put most of my time in the next few weeks, months, working on the controls parts of the cells. There's enough of us out that are building the cells that are really producing, great volumes, and that's fine. So I just don't think there's enough of us working on the controls to control it. So that's where I'm gonna start steering my attention towards the controls to manipulate these vehicles. I sold our motorcycles and I bought a little Mazda Miata. I'm going to use that as my test vehicle because it's such a small car and it's a 4-cylinder. We'll start small, see how it'll work there. This one is actually built for my van. I'm going to put this one in my van because it's a V6 and I have the two. That's with this ECU Controller. I can control 2 of them. That just give you a heads up. That's what's going on. We're keeping it going forward. Picked up a couple alternators the other day. Neighbor brought me up 3 more alternators the other day, so the wind generator still isn't out of the picture. But unfortunately, you need money to keep all these experiments going, and I just don't have it right now. So once I get back on my feet, we'll get on the wind generators. But just wanted to give everybody a heads up. That's what's going on. Working on some control modules, trying to keep them tight, trying to keep them clean, trying to keep them small.